Okay, I'm going to share my screen again. I've gotten into performance matters, and I want to limit the students I have to one group. So I picked Arcola. And now I'm going to limit this to third grade students. So as I come here, you can see the different filters. I'm going to click on current grade. And here are all the grades, all the students for Arcola. One interesting thing here is you can see immediately like how many kids are in third grade. Well, 124. So again, sometimes you'll be looking at some of these and you'll see how many apply to each number. I'm going to hit apply. Now I'm down to 124 students. I'm going to filter out also, I'd like to know how many students are in ESOL 1 in the third grade. So I'm going to go to student filter. Which one of these do you think is ESOL? It's kind of an antiquated term.
LEP.
LEP, you got it. And I'm going to click on LEP, which again is a state terminology. I'm going to click yes, apply. Now I'm down from 161,000 to 52. I want to find the level 1 of the students. This doesn't tell me the level. I'm going to go over to custom student. And here's LEP level. And I can see that Arcola Elementary, the third graders, 3 kids are in 4, 19 are in 2, 21 are in 3, and 9 are in 1. And that's the group I want to look at today. So I'll hit apply. Now, if this were your classroom, you wouldn't have such a big group. You might just want to look at your LEP kids or your special education kids or any other group that way. Maybe you can change by ethnicity. There's all kinds of things. But I'm going to take this group for now. So what I've done is you can see up in this box, I filtered out for my school, which again, most of you won't have to do, my grade, LEP, and their level. And that gives me, again, a very limited number of children for whom I can kind of look for different information. So I'm going to start by going to, I want to see a little bit more information about these kids. I want to draw your attention to this manage columns. So you can see it up here with the circle, and you can see it down here with the circle. Sometimes I just call this the circle, but manage columns is something you can click on, and it's a different function than filters. Filters limit the number of kids. Manage columns give you more information about the kids. So I'm going to click on manage columns, and let's see what I can get. Right now I have student name. What other things would you think I might want to look at for the kids or have in my chart? You can call one out if you see one you like.
The red score from.
Ooh.
Oh, I don't see that there.
Yeah,
sorry.
we're not there yet. We will get it though. I like your goal setting. We're going to get to that.
You
right
can do
here,
teacher name. Teacher name.
I can do a teacher name.
I would like LEP.
Okay. Let me click right here. What else?
Special ed.
Ethnicity.
You got it. And I'll do one more just for fun. I'll do ID. So there's a lot of information. You can click any of these, one of these, whatever you want. And once you click them, you can take them away. So let's see, what am I going to do next? Like all of these filters and manage columns, I'm going to go to the blue apply button. That's an important one. I hit apply. And now I have a lot more information about my group of kids. I have, in fact, my 9 students. Okay, so what they've done is they've listed like all the teachers for each kid. So you'll see like Williams I have all these teachers listed. And I'm going to so you can do that, but for the sake of keeping this like a limited group, I'm going to go back to my manage columns and take off the teacher. So all I have to do is go here, unclick teacher, and hit apply. And I'm just doing that, not that I don't want that information, but it keeps my number about to 9, which I'd like to work with for this. Okay, what do all my students have that's the same?
They're LEP.
They're all LEP.
And they're Hispanic.
And they're all Hispanic, right? So again, this is information that I can leave, but I'm actually going to take it off because I know, okay, it's all the same. So I'm going to unclick LEP. I'm going to unclick ethnicity, hit apply. Okay. Special education, I can see that there's some difference. So at least I have a little difference there. And then I have student ID, which gives me, again, specificity about which kid I'm going to refer to. Now, if I wanted to do this for a discussion where maybe I don't want to be talking about the kids by name, I want to make observations about data, I can go again to manage columns. I can unclick student name, apply. And now I can talk about student number 6 or student number 3. Okay, so this is another option of something you can do. I'm going to go back to manage columns and click the name again, because for this one, I will use the names, but that's just another feature. So now I have my students, my ID, my special ed, and again, these appear in order of the way I clicked them. So this came up last. Now, let's say I want to do some basic information about the kids in terms of the data. Someone already mentioned map, and we're going to get to that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here, and all of these folders contain information about these, not all of them, but many of these folders will contain information about these students. So let's take a look at what they say. Some of them will be very familiar, grades, maybe you've done something with intervention, the access, those of you familiar with the WIDA access. There's KRA, there's some test results that go way back, there's some benchmark, and there's some early warning indicators. And early warning indicators are typically things like absenteeism. So I want to find out a little bit about my students and see how they're similar and how they're different. And I'm going to start with the access for ELL because I want to learn a little bit more about their language proficiency. I want to see how different the kids' scores were in their last 2 access tests. And I want to see, like, in a sense, did they grow or not, and to what amount? Now, I realize one thing is a lot of the data here has been impacted by the pandemic. So I'm just showing you again, here's how you can use it and, be aware of other factors. So I'm going to click on access for L, and I want to see their total score composite. And I want to see if there's a difference between their scores in their last time they took it, which was 2022, and then in 2020. So I'm going to click 2020 first, and then I'm going to click 2021, 22. And you'll see the red, this is called color banding, and the red is, again, this doesn't necessarily always mean it's a bad thing. It means, though, that like in the scale of things, level 1 is coded as red, level 2 is orange, level 3 is yellow, etc. And I picked level 1 students, so I can expect that their test scores are going to be red. You'll notice, let's take a look just at the kids first. Which of the kids stands out to you as kind of the most demonstrable growth or the highest growth on this assessment? Anyone want to take a shot? Here's 2020, 2022.
Kid 9.
Kid 9, Jefferson. Jefferson grew a 0.7, so he went from a 1 to a 1.7 on the access. And other kids went up, different various amounts. It looks like they all improved, so that's good. And I notice also that some of the kids have this white here, and this came up. And anytime you see a blank, it means that there isn't information for that assessment. So I can say, like, it's Marley, the first student. She took the access in 2022, but she didn't take it in 2020. So I don't see like her growth, but I'll see it next year when it comes out. Anderson didn't take it either year, and this came up as to why, and we'll look at that in a minute. But let's say, for an example, I only want to look at the kids who took it both years. So I want to swatch out. I want to get these kind of blank spaces out of here. I can go up here, click on the white, and hit apply swatching. And now anybody who didn't take that test the first time has been taken out of my data set. If I want to put them back in, I click on it, apply swatching. So this is something called swatching, and this is another way to take students out of a data set. Okay, so now I have my kids, and I want to make another check. I want to see if there's a difference in their writing and speaking scores for 2022. So here's 2020. I don't want this anymore. I can either uncheck here, or I can just click on the X. That makes it kind of easy. And here it is unchecked. I want to go to speaking, writing, and I want to see, is there a difference? So I'm going to click on the speaking score for the students and the writing score. So now we start to see some differences. Is there a student who has, you notice, a pronounced difference? Well, if I go down here, I see my student 8 and 9, Christian, got a 2.6 on the speaking and got a 1 on the writing. That to me that's a pretty big difference. That's not, that shows me maybe that when I'm in class, I want to focus more on writing with Christian, maybe make sure that I'm moving him to the sentence level of his writing. And then I'll get other students where it's pretty similar. In the case of Naomi, it's actually, she did better on her writing than her speaking. So these are examples, again, where I can differentiate using the information in Performance Matters, maybe to plan. And again, I will say this is one assessment point, but it does help to just start to build the picture of like, where's the data on this child? Okay. Any questions so far? Doing okay? All right. I'm going to go to the next part. Let's say I want to look at these students, and I'm curious to see, now that I know how they did in speaking and writing and overall, I'm curious to see how they did in their classroom last year as second graders, and maybe even see if there's information about this year as third graders. So if I go to grades, here it is, the grades. And again, you're not going to memorize this, but take a look, and here it is, grades. And when I click on grades, I'll see all different years. So I'd like to see how they did. I'd like to see how they're doing now, actually. I'm going to click on 2022-23, elementary. I'm going to find reading. There's reading language arts. And I'd like to see how they did in reading and writing. And you can see, again, it's moving in that a lot of the students had C's, a lot of B's also, though. So I can get a sense. And some of the kids with, I'm going to put these in order. I can take this and I can click A to Z. And I can see that, again, some of the kids with the higher scores tend to have B's in the class, but not all of them. So this gives me a sense of, again, some more information I can look at. So I'm going to unclick this. And I'm going to look at another, someone mentioned, I think, the MAP score. So I'm going to find out some MAP information on the kids. So again, if I want to I'm going to leave their composite here just for the sake of space. I'm going to take out their speaking and their writing. I'm going to close a few of these. Now, as I look at these, is there anything here you see that indicates it's MAP?
Is it NWEA?
Yes, it is NWEA. So NWEA is where you get, just like you get your NWEA reports. I guess it's the company that produces and scores MAP. And with NWEA, I can see some information on MAP scores. Now, I'm going to click on growth reading 2 to 5 because, again, these kids are third graders. And I want to compare, let's compare their RIT scores. Again, this is a little unscientific, but I'll look at their RIT score for the fall. And there it is. And I'm going to pull up, I wonder, let me pull up the K to 2. Oh, they're all Spanish here. Interesting. Whoop, that's math. I'm going to go to reading, math, reading. Oh, that's our only one here. So I'm going to take a look at their scores here, and I can see, again, quite a difference in the scores, but this gives me their most recent score on NWEA. I'm going to go back a little. And let's say for the same group, I want to look at their math scores. I'll take their RIT. And I can do it. And again, I can also do their percentile. And so for my class, I can see the scores just by clicking right over here under the folder. If I want to do, again, some information from previous administrations, so I have the RIT score from the fall. If I do the RIT score from the fall 21, 22 and 2021, oh, sorry about that. That's the date. RIT score. And I'm going to put them in order. And one of the things I can do is I can move these around a little bit. So I'm going to move this up. And then I want 22 and 23. So what I can see here again, I can see which students have made progress on the RIT. And maybe in the case of, at least in their RIT scores, which students haven't. So I can see student number 3 started at a 165 and their last RIT, they got a 140. But I also can see in Marilee, she's made a lot of progress from 118 to 166. And again, you can use this with percentages, with anything, you know, any of the RIT features, they're in here. Okay, so I'm going to click that off. Any questions so far? Okay. I want to look at another piece of information. I'm curious to see, have my students, how they're doing in their grade again last year in reading. So again, I'll go to my grades, 2022. Let's check out reading. And I'll click reading. And I want to do their MP4 mark. And let's say I want to see how does their absenteeism impact their scores. So what can I do? I'm going to close a few of these. And I'm going to go to early warning indicators. And early warning indicators is where the information is stored about absenteeism and other factors. So I'm looking at last year. I'm going to go to early warning indicators for 2021, 22. And I'll see here absence events and chronic absenteeism. So I want to see how many of my kids missed 10 or more days. I'll click on that. So I have 3 of them. I'm also curious how many of them missed different times, amount of school. So I'm going to click on the students with 5 or greater absences. And now I get information about the actual numbers of days they were absent. So I can see the difference of the students. It ranges from 5 all the way up to 47. What's interesting, though, the student with a 47 got a C, and here's one with an 8 who got a C. So again, this is another thing, thinking in terms of how does this impact, how does absenteeism impact the how my students did. Okay. Now that I've got this information, let's say I want to try something else. Let's say I have, I want to share this information with my assistant principal or with a counselor. As you look at the top and you look at the top feature, you'll see that we have manage columns, we have share, and we have download. Share is a good button if you're sharing with somebody who has similar access. So I can hit share. And once I hit share, I get a URL code or a link that I can copy. And then I can paste that into an email or anything else into a folder, and I can share that information. So that would work if I were sharing the information, say, with an assistant principal, my principal, or someone else who has access to my kids in my class. Well, what happens if I want to share information about the 3rd graders with the 4th grade math teacher? Let's say we're having a discussion on articulation for next year. I can't share it that way, but there is a way I can share it. I can hit download. And at the bottom of my screen, I'll get a link to an Excel file. And I can use this file and I can save it. I can edit it. I can upload it as a Google Sheet. And I can share this in any way with one of my colleagues who doesn't teach the same kids I do. So I'm going to close that out. Okay. Okay. I want to show you one or two other things. As we look in the folders, one of the folders is a little bit, I think, important, and it doesn't tell you really what's in it. And that folder is other measures. So I'm going to click on other measures. And what you'll see in other measures is there's a lot of information that is not maybe specific, doesn't have like, you know, a whole folder by itself. So we do see some things in here that can be useful and maybe more limited in scope. So I want to look at, I'm curious about when my students started their program and when they enrolled in my school and enrolled in the ELD program. So I can click on LEP. And let's see what we have here. When I come here, I can check the enroll date, 22-23. There's my 9 kids. And this gives me the actual date that they were enrolled in the ESOL program. So from here, how is this useful? Well, it gives me some information that one of the questions came up like, why did Anderson not have any score for the access? Why did he have so little information? Well, Anderson enrolled last year on March 8th, and March 8th was after the administration of the access. One of the other things I can see is a big difference. Again, student number 7, this student enrolled in the beginning of the 2018 year and is a 3rd grader. This student's got a 1.8 in their access and getting a C in reading. I might want to look at, again, some of the characteristics of the different students in terms of when they enrolled and see, you know, what a lot of times, are they reaching maybe expected growth, or is there something else I need to look at about the kid? Okay. So this is a lot of information, and it's a lot, you know, a lot about all kinds of factors about the kid. Another thing, there's other things here. I can also pull up things on their program status. And again, this is something where I'm going to actually skip that one. I'm going to go to EOL, evidence of learning. I can see, for example, their evidence of learning from last year. And if I go to math, I can see their total met and their classroom and their district. So if I wanted to see just of my kids last year, which of them met the classroom literacy in a classroom in literacy and the end of year classroom in math, I click. Yes means they met it. No, they didn't. So this is more information, again, based on the kid from last year. Okay, so those are really the basics of performance matters. And just to highlight and go through it again in very shortly, the 3 main things once you open baseball card report, is that you have your filters, and your filters limit the number of kids. Manage columns lists more information about the kids. So again, and folders contain the data about the students. I would encourage you, like when you get back to your school and you want to try this out, looking at your own students, really to click around, to ask, you know, again, don't be afraid of clicking on something and seeing what it is. A lot of this I learned really from experimentation. And the other thing is, if you have a friend or a colleague at your school who's more familiar with performance matters, maybe take a few minutes, you know, sit down with them and go over it. But again, I would encourage you to kind of use this and start to kind of look into, what can I find out about my kids? I'm going to leave it at that. Are there any questions from anyone?
I have a question.
Sure.
Or I'm the staff. Where do they?
I'm hearing you on and off.
Can you hear me better?
Yes, much better.
Okay, my apologies.
No problem.
My staff is coming to me asking me, where can they enter the end of module benchmark and things like that? Where can I direct them? Because I don't know that. I don't know that.
That is one I'm going to have to actually find out from you. Can you do me a favor? See my name up there, Bolin?
Yes,
Can you shoot me an email for that and I'll find out?
yes.
Because I do a lot less with, that's a really good question. I do a lot less with like the entering of scores. But my guess is it comes under one of these either items or tests up here, but I could
Okay.
find you the specifics so they'll know how to do it.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Okay. Let me ask, I'm going to ask a quick question about this. If I have the same set of kids right here, and I wanted to find out which of these students are farm students, does someone want to take a shot of what I'd have to do to get that? I have my group and I want to know which of these kids are farms.
Go to manage columns and click on farms. Apply.
Bravo, you got it. So here we go.
Yay.
Yep, you got it. It's just a little checking, but you got it. Exactly. What would happen what would happen if I go to add student filter? Here it is. Here's farms. What happens if I click on farms and apply? If I click here and hit apply.
Then you'd only get the farm students in your list.
Exactly. So as I do that, I'll do that just to show everybody. So again, this is showing the difference of the managed columns where you want to see the information about the kid without eliminating them from the data set, and the filter, which eliminates them from the data set. So I'm going to go back up and I'm going to get rid of that. I can unclick it and hit apply, and there it goes. And now I'll be back to my 9 kids. Very good. Okay. Oh, I had one other thing. If you ever want to look at a certain number of kids and you just want to identify them by name, there's a couple of ways you can do it. One, if you want to make a file, if you go to filter and geographical, you'll see that student is one of the filters. So if I just wanted to take, for example, I don't know, I'll pick 5 or 6 of these kids. I can click on them here. And by using the student filter, I can again further eliminate the specific kids I want to look at. And there they are. Another thing is that if I want to look at the characteristics of one kid in my list, I can click on their name. So I'll take Christian. And it'll open a new window. And this window has the specific information about the child. So it'll tell me their date of birth, where they go to school, their ID. They are an emergent multilingual student. They're a farm student. They have early warning indicators that in this case, probably attendance. It lists their daily attendance, their schedule. And what's also interesting down here is it lists their grades. And if I wanted to go back, I can see also their grades from last year. If I want to see their grades for first grade, they're in here. If I want to see all their grades, they're in here. So this is another way of just, if I wanted to look at something individually for one student. Okay. And then close that. Okay. Any other questions or anything comes to mind you're wondering about quickly before we come to the end? Oops, sorry about that. Okay, so what I'll do then, I'm going to stop. Oh, nobody's connecting. Okay. Okay. What I'll do is I'm going to drop the evaluations in the, give me 1 second, in the chat, and you can take some time to complete that.
Could I
And-
ask if anything else was put in the chat at the beginning? I kept
Oh, sure.
getting dropped out and had to
Oh, I'm
keep
sorry.
coming back in, so I
Yeah,
might have
well,
missed something.
I put in just a short, like, a short, Google Slides and a short cheat sheet, and I'll put that right in now.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Give me 1 second. All right. Get this. The slides. Okay, that's the slides. Okay. So there are the slides, and there's like just a basic one pager. Again, I encourage you to look at to talk to other people, to look at some of the videos we saw that's under the news section on your screen. And well, you don't see the evaluation.
I was gonna say, I don't see anything in the chat.
Oh, okay. Oh, you don't? Okay.
I don't.
Ooh, I wonder why. Let me try one more time. You don't see anything at all in there?
I got
Yeah, I
the
don't
slides.
either.
I got the slides,
Okay.
the slides and the one sheeter, but I don't see the
Okay,
evaluation.
let me try that evaluation again.
My chat just has like a direct message to you and that's it.
Oh, okay. Let me
Same
try it
here.
again.
Mine as well.
Okay. Let me try.
Oh, Mr. Bolin,
Yeah.
William, I think you sent it just to me.
Oh, I got you. Thank you very much. I told you I'm not a tech expert. Okay. All right, here we go. Everyone, and let me just make sure I got the other. And Kira, I'm going to send those to everyone. Give me 1 second. Everything's coming in there. Sorry. Oops. Okay, here comes the slides and the one sheeter. Okay, now hopefully everyone can access everything. I want to thank you all. Again, I know it's a little bit of it's a lot of information in one day, but if anything comes of it, I'd really encourage you just to get in there. Don't be afraid of it. Ask questions. You can always ask the people at your school or your learning and achievement specialist. You know, if you have something you want to email me about, that's fine too. And I just hope you have a great rest of your day, and thank you for attending.